Hey, Coach, thanks for taking the time today.
Thanks, Shane.
We're going to start with Ruben, and then we'll go to Dave.
Hey, Nick, what's your concern level with Jake Elliott right now and why?
Yeah, I got a lot of confidence in Jake Elliott. He's been a good player for a long time here. He's made a ton of big time kicks. Like I said to you guys yesterday, the win was a lot more than what you could tell from the stands. It was some different types of wind there, and he's made a lot of huge kicks here recently and in the past. So. Confidence is very high with Jake because I know who he is and I've seen who he can be.
We'll go to Dave, and then Jeff.
Hey Nick, last night some of the offensive players were expressing some frustration about the passing offense. When that happens, what's your process for hearing that and then funneling that in a positive way?
Sure, yeah. I mean, we didn't feel when you guys asked me yesterday what I thought. Normally I've always got to watch the tape, but I think it's no secret that we weren't up to our standard in that area yesterday, and so it's just going back to work. What I do know when guys, I love that guys care, and they care about the how they perform. They care about us meeting our standard, and that just leads into getting better. And so, my only thought is on that is, hey, well, we're going to get to work today, which we already did, and watch the tape with them and make the corrections and be critical of ourselves as coaches and how we can put them in better situations, how we can do different stuff to help out, and everybody doing their part. And so it's just an opportunity for you to grow and to get better, and that's what anytime you step on the field is an opportunity for that.
We'll go to Jeff, and then Brooks.
Nick, do you think that too much of an emphasis on the run game has affected Jalen
Uh,
and
no,
it made him trigger shy?
no.
So what happened on a couple of deep throws and the check downs that he threw to should he have gone?
Which one?
The second the second play I asked you about on AJ first passing play.
Yeah. No, I
What
don't.
should he done there?
What did I say on that? Yeah, I thought that, again, there's always a different reason of why a play doesn't, to you guys look exactly the way or go to a place where you go with the football. And so there's always a different. I'm not going to get into that with every single play, not even in any really play. We'll keep that in house and correct it in house. I think Jalen's done a nice job over the course of the last 2 months of the season of playing really good football, of going where he needs to go with the football, being accurate with the football, running our offense, getting us in and out of good plays. You don't, and so like, okay, and if we perceive this or that on a certain play, again, you just try to correct it and get better from it. But I don't think the offense in general, as far as our pass game, was to our standard yesterday. But make no mistake about it, and I know the question is coming about Jalen. Make no mistake about it, we've won 9 games in a row, and Jalen Hurts is a big reason why we've won 9 games in a row.
We'll go to Brooks, and then John.
So maybe in a general sense, in terms of throwing downfield, in terms of air yards, of attempts of 20 plus yards, Jalen's only attempted 2 in the last 4 games. That's the lowest among all quarterbacks that are throwing that much. Obviously, he did more in the earlier bit of the season, was good at that coming out of the bye. I'm just wondering, with that trend, where do you think that comes from? Is that reluctance? Is that what you're seeing? How do you interpret that? Is that something you've talked to him about?
Yeah, we don't get too much into air yards and stuff like that. We try to get Jalen to go. Jalen tries to go to the right place with the football based off of the defense we're getting and the way we're trying to attack. We try to get him to do that same thing. We all, as far as what happens, and sometimes air yards are there to throw the ball down the field, and sometimes they're not. And so again, you read out each play individually and not based off of what a number potentially tells you before the game. You have to be in the moment of the game that you're playing at that particular moment and take what the defense gives you at that particular moment. And so I don't look too much into that.
We'll go to John and then Elliot.
Hey, Nick, you kind of tell us all the time you're hyper focused week to week, and you guys have won 9 straight, clinched the postseason again. Is it difficult to sort of weigh both ends of the spectrum, that you're having success, but you want to prove here? Do you have to be disciplined and say, hey, we have to improve this aspect, whether it's the passing game or anything?
Yeah, of course. I mean, when we found out we made the playoffs, that lasted a couple seconds, and then we said to ourselves, now it's back to the Steelers. No one's thinking about the playoffs. No one's thinking about anything, and all our attention should be on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's it, and how we get better for this week. And so that's our attention at all times. I think you guys know me, or have talked to me enough to know that that's the same thing I say every week of, hey, how do we get better this week, whether it's in the passing game, whether it's in tackling, whether it's in taking care of the football, whether it's in taking the football away. If we see a problem that we're having, or a game where we don't have something going the way we want it to go, we'll work like crazy to do that. Penalties, whatever it is. And that's our job, is just to get better each week, and not, like, again, if we can just keep getting better each week and just figure out how to play this game and go against the Pittsburgh Steelers and focus on getting better, like, the rest of it will take care of itself. We're not worried about any of that. We're just worried and focused on where we are today. That's going to be the beginning stages of plan. First of all, it was, the review of the game. Now it's in the beginning stages of prepping for the Steelers.
Nick, you said to the players after the game that you wanted them to enjoy the win. I'm just curious, because it did seem like there was a lot of frustration on the offensive side of the ball after that game. Are you worried at all about where the team's head is at, like, despite having an 11-2 record?
No, not at all. I think this is a very mature team of very great leaders and mature guys that are hyper focused on how to get better. And are you going to have moments of being disappointed that you didn't reach your standard of how to play? Now, the win, it's always our standard to win, right? That's the main goal, and that's the main thing. As Jalen would say, that is the main thing. And so that's, when you do that, you have to be able to enjoy that. Like I said, I like the fact that guys, when we don't reach our standard of how we want to play and show everybody how we play each week, that they're disappointed in that. But you also have to remind them in those moments it's hard to win, and that you have to enjoy those moments, because I know this, Elliot, that when you lose, that will sit with you, and then you'll be you're sick about that. And so you have to balance that out from when you win to enjoy it. Because this journey, it's about enjoying the locker room after the game, because so much went in. There's so much that goes into each week. You empty the tank every single week to try to win a football game. And when you win, there should be joy in that, because you work so hard at it, and that other team emptied the tank too. And so you have two teams putting a week's worth of work in, and not a normal work week, a strenuous long one. And so you have to find some enjoyment, because when you lose at the end of that week and all the work that you put into it, that's a bad feeling. And so I'm not saying it equals out, because us as coaches and us as players, the losses do sit with you harder than the wins do. But you have to find a way to be, positive in those scenarios, because you do work so hard, and it's not always going to be pretty. You got to give the other team credit. We're in the NFL. This is a hard week in, week out. I mean, we saw it yesterday. There were teams that, were supposed to win or weren't supposed to win that didn't, right? And so you're in the NFL, and anything can happen every single week. And to come out with a win in those, and to have it for the last 9 weeks is special. But the best thing about winning 9 in a row, it gives you an opportunity to win 10 in a row.
We'll go to Tim and then Olivia.
And Nick, one of the things that stood out in the locker room is some of those offensive players saying that in the passing game, you're not on the same page. Curious what examples you're seeing of that, and why that is the case this deep into the season.
Yeah, I think everyone's got to be able to watch the tape after the game and kind of look through that. Football is an imperfect game. You show me a perfect game by somebody. It's not like pitching in baseball where you can have a perfect game. It's an imperfect game. There's going to be mistake. Every play there's a mistake, and so that's the way the game goes sometimes. It's just never going to be perfect. So there are elements of every team. If you show me a game of whoever played yesterday, I'll point out a mistake on each play, and that's just the way. Like I said, that's just the way it goes. So. You're striving to make sure that you're playing as perfect as you possibly can and play as good as you possibly can. But, there are going to be errors. And so they're frustrating when they happen. And, of course, like we talk, I think what I say to the guys before every walkthrough or period starts and walkthrough is like, work to be on the same page. Here we go, because that's where it starts, is everyone being on the same page so you can go out and execute. And so you're constantly trying to do that. And we always talk about that. And so you get frustrated when it's not. But like I said, this is an imperfect game. Sometimes, there are going to be times, whether it's week 14, week 1, week 17, week 20, whatever you want, whatever it is, there's going to be times that there's mistakes, and you just got to move. You just got to be able to play the next play, correct it, and be able to move on.
We'll go to Olivia and then Bob.
Hi, Nick. Early last week, you said that you want to win the double positive, winning the explosive play battle and winning the turnover battle. As it relates to the passing game yesterday, do you feel like the emphasis on winning the turnover battle came at the expense of attempting to generate explosive plays? And if so, how can you encourage a better balance?
Yeah, well, we did, and by our standard, we did win the explosive play battle and the turnover battle yesterday. So, the turnover or the explosive play battle does not just include passing yards, right? It's run yards, passing yards, special teams, everything's involved. And so I've explained this to you guys in the past that's there's a you don't want to turn the ball over, but you don't want to not push the ball down the field and be explosive in the pass game. So it's a hard balance. It's not easy as far as doing that. We've won the explosive play battle many times in these past 9 weeks, and we've shown that we can be explosive. Again, we're looking at a total, I think, as far as the way we calculate it. Explosive play differential going into last week, we were number 1, meaning we weren't giving up, with the amount that we gave up and the amount that we created. And so it's a both and. It's a true team stat, defensively, offensively, special teams wise. And so again, it's so important that you take care of the football. We're playing the Steelers this week, who are number 1 as of today in takeaways. So again, it's going to be very important that we protect the football. We don't give them short fields. But we are explosive, and that's a battle you fight as a player, as a coach, all the time, because both are important. It's not just one is important; they're both important. And for the past, last year was the year, but in 21, 22, and 24 right now, we've been high in that in both those categories, in the explosive play differential category and the turnover battle. 23, we weren't great in the turnover battle, and so we're doing a good job of that. But it is a battle. It is tough to balance both, but this game's not easy, and so everyone's got difficult jobs to do.
We'll go to Bob and then Martin.
Hi, Nick. When you watch the tape, when I watch the tape, it almost looks like AJ is open every time on slant plays, and he shows his frustration. Do you ever have to say to him, "Yeah, I see what you're doing, and I can understand your frustration, but this is what it is"? I mean, did you ever have that conversation with him?
We talk about it all, we talk about everything. I'd like to think I'm really close with AJ, and he'd probably say the same thing. And so you talk about everything. AJ is a great football player that we always are trying to get the ball in his hands. There's no doubt, because he's a great player. It doesn't always work as simple, as easy as that. There's other factors of things that they can take away. You're running the ball well. The situation in the game, there's a lot of factors that go into that. think what's important that we talk about always is controlling the things that you can control. And, you know, what AJ can control is going out there and doing a good job of beating the man over top of him when he's running a route and blocking the guy he's supposed to when he's in the run game. And so I have, you know, AJ's got, you know, he's missed 3 games and has 800 and plus yards, and so he's making a big contribution. But I know he wants the football because, you know, he knows how much he can help our team when he touches the football. You know, just like Saquon, just like Devontae, just like Jalen, just like Dallas Goedert. You know, when they get the ball, Kenny Gainwell, when they get the ball in their hands, they know they can affect the game. And so, yeah, again, I think I know that AJ's a great teammate and you know, a great person, and those things I know for sure about AJ.
We'll go to Martin and then Zach.
Hey, Nick. If I could switch to the defense to the other Jalen Carter. You know, obviously you guys aren't as deep as you were at the edge rusher position. Like, how much of a factor, or game record even, has Jalen Carter become, and how do you think like opposing offenses like have to plan for him in order to try to be effective?
Yeah, they have to account for him every play, just like we have to account for really good players on their defense every play. So I think you're seeing that. You're seeing teams do that. And I think Jalen has done a good job of being disruptive at that first level of the defense. He's fast, he's quick, he's strong. He gets to the football. And so he has been disruptive. He's playing good ball right now, and I know when you see that as an offensive coach, you got to do what you need to do to help to make sure you account for him every play.
Go to Zach and then finish with Bo.
Hey, good afternoon, Nick. Following up on the decision to punt, in your 4 years, that's the closest to the goal you've ever punted in the fourth quarter of a game. You've attempted tough kicks before. What's the thought process there before between attempting a kick, even with the challenges of the wind, but that could give you a 2-possession lead, and giving them the ball with a chance to take the lead there?
Yeah, good question, Zach. Everything's in play. You go in every single game with a plan of it, like, make no mistake about it, we have a plan for that specific moment and every specific moment. It's really you find yourself coming up with new things every week as you study the league of like, man, put yourself in this scenario. So your list of things and the moments that you're in just grow and grow and grow and grow. But you have to do that. You have to put yourself in that moment to make those decisions. With that being said, you have a guideline of what you go on, but then there's circumstances in the game that you must be able to not just follow the guidelines of what you've come up with and the work you've come up with, but also the feel of the game and how things are going. The wind, the way your defense is playing, the way their offense is playing, those are a couple things. So in that particular case, I felt like that was the best decision to make as to help our football team win. Lot of credit of, and I know they got out of the backed up area when they hit that pass on 3rd and 11, but man, how good of a play was that by Avonte Maddox and Braden, to get that ball into that area. And so those guys did a phenomenal job there, made me look right in that particular case. But you trust your players in that aspect to if you do decide to punt, and again, you trust them if you decide to kick, you trust them if you decide to go for it, you trust them in the scenario if you decide to punt it, that they're gonna go and do their job, and they did a really good job of that, and the defense held. So everything is accounted for, but you have to account for the unknowns too in those scenarios, like the wind, like the defense, like all those different things, and then. I was really proud of the guys and proud to be associated with the guys, and the fact that we talked about playing with relentless effort for 60 minutes. And on the last play, we have the rush by Morrow and Jalen and Sweaty to flush Bryce Young out of the pocket, and then Slade, diving pass breakup that Slade has a knack for making in big time moments. Because Slade had another pass breakup where he was in the hip of the receiver on another 4th down. I think they were 3 for 5 on 4th down, and Slay had 2 big plays in those categories. I mean, I can't say enough about Slay either, of how good he played coming off that week where he wasn't in, and so it's good to have him back because he's such a good player and he's such a good leader and such a good captain.
Would the decision have been different had Jake made earlier kicks?
Everything's a little bit different, Zach. I have to be in the moment for the one that's going on at that particular case or in that particular time, and all the factors come into play.
We'll finish with Bo here.
Hey Nick, on the RPOs when Jalen is pressured and he knows that there's an eligible man downfield. Last week against Baltimore, we saw him throw it away. He take the penalty. This week he took the sack. What's the coaching point on that?
Yeah, I'll keep all our coaching points in house there. I don't think Zach or Bo, I'm sorry. I always want to answer your question. I feel like I've done this to you a couple times where I don't give you the answer. I apologize. Our job is to go through and make sure that we coached it the right way and that we're coaching it the right way and we coach it the right way moving forward. And, whatever the answer is to your question, which I'm not going to get into, I'm sorry. We just have the communication of everything that happens on the field of, hey, here's what we need to do in this area as coaches. Here's what we need to do as players, and, all in the attempts of getting better.
Thank you.
Thanks for the time, Coach.